Hi, everyone. We are going to wait 1 or 2 minutes more, and we will start with the session. So bear with us. We'll start in a couple of minutes. I think we can start. Welcome, everyone. My name is Andres Sanchez, and I'm part of the Funding Box team. We are very proud to have here with us the FIWARE community today. This session has the name of how FIWARE open source technology can make a difference in reacting ad hoc to extreme situations. So we will introduce you 4 panelists from the FIWARE ecosystem. And we will show how the members of the FIWARE community has been able to speed up their response to the challenges surrounding COVID-19 with FIWARE technology and FIWARE-powered solutions. As you know, FIWARE is known for its ability and speed to address urgent challenges and the needs of society, companies, and public administrations. The need for ready-to-use solutions based on open source and open standard principles to help automate data sharing continue to grow rapidly, and more with this current situation that we are running now with the COVID-19. More and more sharing tools are available, provided by open source principles, allowing relevant parties to access existing solutions as well as build on top of widely available off-the-shelf solutions. In this case, we have 4 people from the ecosystem who will briefly introduce their solutions to later on open a discussion at a roundtable about what's the situation and how these solutions can help to improve the situation and benefit the communities in this particular situation we are living on. So with no further delay, I will give the floor to the speakers. who will, as I say, introduce their solutions quite briefly, and then we go to the pen table.
Yeah, so thanks, Andres. This is Christina. So just to see if you can all hear me. The sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, super. So then thanks, Andres, for the opportunity and the introduction to have FIWARE today with you. And I know your extraordinary wide community. And thanks for the introduction. My name is Christina Brandstetter. I'm the CMO and FIWARE Foundation. And I will guide you today through this 1 hour of, I think, extremely exciting sessions with some 4 awesome personalities, I think, who can be without doubt be called gurus in their fields and real thought leaders, sometimes surely also disruptors. So warm welcome also to our today's participants and to our guest speakers. As I said, I'm taking care of marketing and community part in FIWARE Foundation. I come with a 20 years background of Siemens and automation and digitalization, and a 5 years background in CEO and CIO roles in fitness companies, also strongly digitalized. And we ran also there through a lot of ad hoc situations, but never seen as we have seen that now. So we are definitely in a very particular situation, calling for ad hoc reactions. And from FIWARE Foundation, I think we can be very proud together with the community to say that we were able and approved being able to come up with ad hoc solutions for these kind of situations. And of course, COVID will play a key role in today's presentations. So this brings me to our very first guest speaker. This is Lanfranco Morasso. Lanfranco is the Smart City Program Director at Engineering. It's an Italian but worldwide active company. He's covered many different roles, also management roles as CEO and CIO in private companies at national, international level. I think he's lived also in Boston for quite some time. In 1999, he moved from the private to the public sector as a CIO of Municipality of Parma in Italy, and then to engineering. And since 2009, he's been working in the R&D department, looking at the technological transfer from research to innovation to market. And Lanfranco has been an extremely important role in the COVID times for Italy and even internationally, taking care of a completely new solution to help that industry to fight COVID. It's a very impressive story, so I welcome Lanfranco, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you to everyone. To me, switch off my camera in order to save the line. So, and also thank you to Charlotte to support me. So, briefly, can data save lives? This is the question, and after this long story against COVID-19, we can say yes, absolutely. Next, please. We all know the situation of COVID, and unfortunately in Italy, we appear with COVID on the stage as the first European countries after China and maybe few countries in Asia and Iran. Explode, the situation really exploded end of February, and at least 2 regional governments has been very and heavily involved by the COVID-19. And next, please. And the story regarding the pandemic impacts, of course, as an extreme stress on the healthcare system. And the story I'm going to tell you is what we are doing actually with the 2 regional governments. And of course, we are also supporting the economic impact. Again, working with a project which is called Back to New Normal in the regions. And of course, also related to social aspect. Next, please. So, end of February, we have been engaged by the region of Veneto. Veneto is the region of Venice, which is worldwide famous. And the medical doctor, the boss of the task force, say we need to do a lot of things. I'm talking about February 22nd, so really in the early stage of the situation. We need to stop the spread of the virus. We need to keep under control the people die. We need to control the spreading. We need to take under safe environment the people working in the hospital and some other things. Next, please. And what we do actually was to understand how can we reduce the risk for the people and how to apply the strategy of the 3 T's, test and trace and treat the people. Next, please. And basically the regions say to stop the contagion, we need basically information, because we need to locate people having COVID positive. And we need to identify as soon as we can the clusters. And we need to identify on the map the areas of infection. And we need to activate the containment actions. And if possible, or if any, we need to predict the evolution of the pandemic. How to do this? Next. So, of course, the region, at least in Italy, is has the responsibility. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you for a minute, but you are back.
Yeah, okay, I'm back. So the most important part was to create an ecosystem, because we did not invent any information against the COVID, but what we did is exactly to engage all the possible stakeholders. I mean, healthcare organizations, of course, but hospitals and the medical doctors and practitioners and the civil protection. All the ecosystem contributes to collect data in order to allow to the medical doctor to protect the others against the COVID. Next, please. So what we realize is a kind of biosurveillance system in order to have a real-time geolocalization of the people, to build an epidemiological model able to identify and to quantify the number of beds in intensive care departments, for example, in order to make the region in the position to plan the actions and to understand what can do in the next future. But I'm talking about day by day. Next, please. And this is exactly what we did thanks to FIWARE. This slide is the most important because the title of this event is Ad-hoc solution, but the other part is agile solution. And as you can see on the left-hand side, we started end of February, as I mentioned before. The first case in Italy has been February 22nd. In few days, we set up together with the region all the ecosystem in order to find the virus. And on the left part of the slide, there is my sketch on my iPad with the schema of the information useful for the medical doctor. And in few days, February 27, March 4th, we released the first dashboard for the medical doctor, for the practitioners in the region, which is now used every day by more than 5,000 doctors. And on the right-hand side, a few days later, we started to develop the solution for the task force, for the government. And this is quite impressive because we did not start from scratch, of course. We started by a platform which is called Digital Enabler. We developed in the last years in a number of different applications. But Digital Enabler is based on FIWARE. We are using about 10 generic enablers for FIWARE. And thanks to the agility, thanks to the data model, thanks to the open API, we have been able, next please, to realize the biosurveillance system, next please, in order to identify the clusters, to define the position, the patients, to identify the network around the patient. Network meaning the family, the work, neighbors, the schools, all the things which can be a risk for the people living around this kind of situation. And the digital enabler simply, quote unquote, integrate, harmonize, and correlate the data provided by a number of different sources. Next, please. And this is one of the most important parts of the story. Again, we did not invent anything, but we just have in the bottom part of the slide all the existing information which are available in any regions or in any country. I have a number of meetings with countries all around the world. And basically, we have information about the labs, microbiology labs, about the electronic health record, or the people working in the hospital, or the people, aging people living in an hospice, or information related to the companies. You know, what we did, thanks to the digital enabler, is we just combine all the data in order to give the information, next please, in a very easy way. So we can have also all the analytics, but the general practitioners or the people working on for the labors, for the companies, or the operators in healthcare in the hospitals or the task force, next, can see on the map a very precise information about where you are, if you're at home or in the hospital or in quarantine or intensive care, and providing you all the information which are relevant. Next. We also develop some algorithms which are used now, because we are now going to the phase 3 or maybe 4, or I don't know, but the reality, despite the doctors and the experts and the scientists, the reality is that we are co-living with the COVID, and clusters are appearing here and there in the world. So the most important part is how to use data in order to predict the new clusters, in order to protect people, in order to, I would say, to guide, to drive the world to the new normality, which is not easy. But again, data can be used in this way, and this is exactly what we did with the system. The next slide is my last slide. I want to close my presentation. I leave your presentation, all the presentation, but I want to keep time. So what we did basically is to engage all the institutions, public and private. The second, which is the most important, is based on data which are under the control of the government. We are able to manage the relationship of the people, and thanks to the relationship, we are able to manage the way the virus is spreading. So this is more or less in a few minutes what we did, which is now up and running for more than 15 million persons, because we started end of February in region of Veneto. We are now working with the region of Lombardia, Milan and Venice, and 15 million means a country like Holland. Out of the 50 countries in Europe, we are in 10th position. So it's a very large pilot. We are working in real time, and every hour we update the system. And this is a great stress also for FIWARE, because we are now managing several million of tests of a set of information per hour. And this is a great stress test for FIWARE and the generic enabler of the technology. So thank you to everyone and for inviting me. And you have the long presentation, so you can find all the information required. And I'm here to reply to your possible questions in the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lanfranco. I'm actually glad that FIWARE obviously survived your stress test. I think we're doing good. So thanks a lot for this really, really impressive story. And it's not only a story, because we learned that data can save lives. You said absolutely yes. And now we want to learn a little bit more how things really work in detail. And this is why we welcome Roberto DiBernardo. He is a senior researcher and head of the Open Government Group, which is, by the way, a part of the Open Public Service Innovation Lab. He's an electronic engineer. And in 2014, he got a master in clinical engineering from the University of Trieste. while in 2003, a Master of Internet Software Engineering from the University of Catania. Roberto, since 2004, has been working in engineering R&D laboratory. And he's bringing a really, really great story now to you, which is around COVID-19, showing really how monitoring the pandemic with open data can work. So, Roberto, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone, and thanks for inviting me. Are you sharing the screen with my slides? Or should I do?
You're more than welcome to do it yourself. Okay. I think it might be easier.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay. Now we should. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. This presentation, I will be very, very quick. It's a sort of spin-off of the previous one showed by Lanfranco. Here what we try to understand is Lanfranco already presented how the success story from using the digital enabler, in particular its verticalization, the digital enabler for BIOS. Now, here the question was, could we leverage open data to support the real decision-making process, so supporting decision-making in our country? Well, the answer after this exercise was yes, in the sense that it's now there are several push from the European Commission in order to have more and more source open data source with the right quality. So now extracting value out of it more than possible is a must for us. What I'm going to present here is that it's just a quick overview of on a potential stack of open source solution, mainly FIWARE generic enabler that can allow an informed decision-making process thanks to open data. The stack is a really simple one. It could be seen as a sort of simplification of what we already do in the digital enabler, because the main asset come out from those in the digital enabler infrastructure. So we used the HYDRA, that is the generic enabler for FIWARE, supporting the federation of open data sources, so capable to federate different sources of open data independently from the technology used, on the way they have been developed, from custom website to pure open data portal managed, for example, with more standard technology like SICAN or even SOCATA, DCAT, etc. Then we use the context broker in order to manage and to define correctly the context we want to focus on. Of course, we have the key rock to managing the identity, so the authorization layer in our infrastructure, and then we put on top of it a customization of Apache superset, that is at the moment an incubated technology in Apache, and we in particular we customized it, making it compatible with the context broker on one sense, but also we add few visualization capability, some other visualization capability. In the end, what we will be able to do is provide with visualization and site capability to decision maker, thanks to the open data collected. Here is just a few examples of the visualization we create. So starting from simple one that is based on line chart, we have a sticker bar giving comparison about the different measures we collect. But I would also include the advanced visualization example that was the one we add to the diagram layer, that is the visualization part. That is a polygon map layer that allows to visualize the case region by region, giving an immediate perception of the number of positive subjects, again, region by region with a 3 map visualization. We also had a Kepler chart visualization that had not only space capability, so showing space distribution of the case, but giving also insight on the time evolution of the cases, even location-based. The third example I want to show is the data chart that give an immediate perception of the number of positive cases, showing in a map houses or buildings with a color and a dimension that is directly proportional to the number of infected people living there. These are just a quick example. Of course, there are numbers of potential visualization or dashboard that could be used. And so at the moment, I would close here my presentation. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Roberto, thank you so much for your presentation. This was very hands-on and very visual and helps, I think, to a great extent to understand what on a daily basis can be really used. And I think even a person not from the industry and not from this particular, not involved in these particular cases can really understand the value out of that. The participants here might know FIWARE has its headquarters in Berlin, also working worldwide. But if you just think, if you read that in the news, that there was a new real strong case just this week coming up in a factory, in a meat factory in Germany, showing that there was really tons of people getting infected with COVID again. And they closed down a whole district, a whole area in North Rhine-Westphalia, affecting 360,000 citizens to be locked down for at least another week. Just imagine this now reflected in one of these graphics that Roberto has just shown to us. It makes it much easier to digest than such situations, and even in some cases to foresee how things are evolving. So thanks again. I guess this is a very great insight on how solutions can really help in ad hoc and difficult situations. We jump a little bit now into something slightly different, but still connected to citizen lives, to the quality of citizen lives. And for this, I welcome Andrea Crowe, who will give us an insight on how it is possible to improve citizens' quality of life in a collaborative environment. Andrea is the CEO and co-founder of TeamDev, a company based in Italy. Andrea worked for 15 years in the development of enterprise systems, scaling for multimedia applications, so mainly online streaming platforms, the Internet of Things, and many, many other areas. His main experience fields are multi-device applications development, enterprise architecture and cloud computing, and GIS. And by the way, he has many more roles because he's also a senior analyst and researcher for smart cities and innovative startup evolution. And he's also a member of the board of directors of FIWARE Foundation. So Andrea, after all these titles you have, the stage is for us for a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you to all. I start sharing my slides so we can immediately start sharing our approach to the smart cities and in general to the integration between the citizens and the cities. Our approach is under the umbrella of WISE Town, that is our ecosystem. WISE stands for Web Information Stream Enhancer. And with this, we want to generate data flow from the citizen, from many data sources, useful to control the quality of life or daily work or daily life in the city, and to provide a decision support system to the city operators. And to start the presentation, most of the problems that we had to face are that data are not well organized, even if in the medium big cities, but for sure in the small medium cities. And there is no infrastructure for this in the small medium cities, and it's tough to take real-time decisions on real data. For these issues, we created the WISE Town ecosystem, that is a platform with several modules. And today we will focus mostly in how we are managing the different time of action, because there is the real time that is the same that I will show you we are using for the emergency of COVID-19. Then there is the ordinary time, and then there is the planning, so long time planning. And I go very quickly to show you how, thanks to connectors, we integrate all the APIs, the satellite data, open data, and social and sensor data, thanks to the Orion context broker that dispatch the information between policymakers, operators, and the citizens. And the core of WISE Town is this ability, thanks also to FIWARE, to collect, create homogeneous data and to dispatch this data in the correct time, and then to analyze this data. Just to show you some examples, we have the situation room. That is something that can be used both for daily use, so for example, for a big festival in the city, or for other daily use of the city, or can be used for emergency. For the emergency, we have this specific application that we have done, and this is just an example of the usage for not emergency scenario. Is that the use case that we have done in the Oregon, USA, thanks also to FIWARE, to manage the Independence Day festival. And after the analysis of the data in real time, there is also the analysis for the planning. So the geoanalytics that had to collect data to correlate different data and different domains, and to have a feedback on what can be done for improve the quality of life in the city. I want to go directly to the integration with the COVID-19 situation. Just before, I want to show you that we use not only data from sensors and from the citizen, but also from the satellite. Here, for example, we are using data from sensors from the remote sensing to highlight the green areas of the city, and then to interact with the open data of the cities to understand what are the green area that are also public, and what are the private green areas. I go directly to the COVID-19 emergency scenario, where we can use the geoanalytics to understand, for example, some very specific needs for managing the COVID-19 situation. For example, we can ask to WISE Town how many 16 and older years old people can live in that block, so we can have a list of persons that we have to double check for specific reason, or list me all the green areas the public green areas in that block, because even in Italy, for example, we closed all the green areas, and if you want to have a surveillance in these areas, you have a list that you can communicate to the police department, for example, or how many flats have been verified in this area. So you can have a statistic on the overall situation of the evaluation that has been done in a specific area. This is the emergency operation flow, where the operators, but also the citizen, can send information. For example, the specific Voice Town apps, or thanks to tweets, geo tweets, that can send information to the real-time supervisor that work in the control room, and then they can send information to the operators that has to solve specific issues related to the emergency, and send back feedback to the control room. Here, some real-time data that we have worked on, for example, for our region, Umbria. This is the dashboard that we have collected, used to collect all the information. This is done by our people from the GIS area, and they collect information from several sources, also from the Voice Town Orion powered data, to show the situation in the region. The same can be done. This is a very specific civil protection application that we have done for monitoring the hospital and what is happening, how many free places are free seats for people, and how many busy seats are in the several hospitals of the region. And now, this is thanks also to the ESRI disaster response program. We developed this dashboard that we are proposing now in some African countries, and we are talking now, for example, this is from Niger, and we are discussing with them on how to manage, because now it's racing in that part of the world, and we are trying to supply the countries with some real-time dashboards. And Voice Town is both an open source solution, but can be also delivered as a subscription. And thanks to this, we can support not only Italian countries, but also other countries that are in a very high emergency in this moment. Thanks, and I'm here if you have any question.
Andrea, thank you very much for this presentation, which gave us a great insight into further use cases and real-time dashboards in different cases. Very interesting, not only COVID-19 related, but also many, many other use cases. So I think that really shows us very lively how we can improve citizen lives with a collaborative environment. So very interesting. Thank you. We're now moving to Remap. So another great insight. We look at Open Video and FIWARE preparing the new normality. So this is, again, a bit COVID related. And shows another really, really great step into how the future could be. Guimard is a R&D and QA manager at Navatech. They have the mission to provide flexibility and capacity to mobilize communication services using the latest technologies in web and mobility. Navatech is part of the Currento and Open Video projects. It's an open source media delivery and processing server and an open source platform to ease the addition of video calls, video streams, and video and audio processing in your web or your mobile application. And how this can be used, Guimard will now tell us. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I will share now my screen so you can all just follow the presentation. Let me here. So, well, my approach to this talk is a bit different because we are not a product company. We are just service and technology providers. So what we are doing, or we have been doing during all this crisis, has been mainly supporting our clients, our customers from current and open video. Not only clients and customers, but users, because current and open video, as Christina talked, also are open source communities. So we haven't declined any help people have been asking from the community, even if they weren't properly clients, of course. The main uses that the current and open video are being used are video calls. Why? Because they provide something that Zoom, Meets, or other tools cannot grant, at least not grant, but they are not transparent about, that are security and user privacy. But they are not only for that, they are also media processors. So with any kind of a stream or an IP camera in the street or your home, you can raise some kinds of events who can be easily added to FIWARE FIWARE ecosystem. For example, letting them into Orion to be just another input for the decision making or just traceability. And of course, what also makes different Open Video and Currento from other meeting tools is they are customizable. They are custom. You can use them in any custom use case. They are 100 customizable for each client and for each use case. From e-learning, webinars, digital onboarding, you can combine it in your application or in your service as you want. So what has happened in our world, in the media communications world, is that we have been forced to telecommuting. Many companies had to set up an environment for for their employees to work properly. Or the video meetings have been the new new day-to-day issue. So most companies have just choose for a pre-existing tool, Meets, Zoom, or whatever they thought it would be better, in order to grant the social distances. So at global scale, that meant that most web conferencing services have experienced a peak of demand and a big number of users. In our case, that we are not providing this service as it is, we are just helping companies or organizations to integrate them in their own services. We have been receiving an enormous number of queries related to the custom video conferences from for different kind of roles in the conference, for different displays, look and feel, and everything. Also, we have been having a lot of questions about how to add SRTP cameras into webs, how to make what we call security or camp walls. So people shouldn't be in front of a TV in a specific place, but they could just monitor everything from their homes. And also, as I told you before, we have observed a lot of movement in both communities, current and open video. More issues were reported, more questions, and really advanced questions in some use cases. So what now? Now that hopefully here in Europe we have passed the biggest peak, and the companies are preparing to get back to normal or move to the new normal, we need to evaluate what we have been doing, how we have managed the crisis, and what are the tools we have adopted for a company or organization, and of course adopt any other tool that could be of use in this case. Of course, we will need rapid detection, rapid actuation capacity, not only for cities or government, but also companies. From small to big companies will need to adapt quickly if they have a new case. Of course, they will also try to run the social distance in workplaces. They may be offering telecommuting to risk population. And for that, what we think is that we need to prepare and support more robust and secure and prepaid online learning platforms for schools and for digital training. In this case, from our point of view, from our company, what we are telling our clients is, if the tools that you are using now, the tools that you are using now really what you need? What are the privacy and security policies? Does the user, your employee, needs to make a new account in a new service? What data are they requesting of your employees, and what data they are gathering from all conversations? So we use video conferencing like we were in the same room, but really we are giving full conversations through a server that we don't know where is it. And sometimes we are not even requesting from these services what is happening with my information. It is coded. They are point to point. What they are doing with that this conversation, and also what image does these tools and service give of our organization. Because of course, if we use Meeting, GoToMeeting, they are fairly nice, good, and maybe our Zoom, they are good, and probably they don't give us bad impression of our company. But in that case, what we are doing is just using Google logo. We are using a Zoom logo instead of our own logo. So we are relying on biggest players. It's not bad, but it's something that we need to take care and we need to take into account. And for other use cases that probably are maybe less visual or less normal for day-to-day people, the other use cases that we are facing, that is, are the students and teachers privacy granted by the tool they use? Also, which inside jobs could be rethought to be remote? And are we prepared to adapt some inside job to be remote in that case? And of course, can we have a real-time tracking tool? Of course, the last one I have been already solved by previous speakers, but with these amazing tools they have. But in video can be also used in that case. So are we ready? From our point of view, from Navatech's point of view, we are ready. We just need to find or look for the correct application of the technology. So, for example, the FIWARE ecosystem itself, as a general end, offers many components as generic enablers, so you can design easily your custom application. You can see how in few days, with a bunch of generic enablers, you could do really an amazing tracking application that engineering has been done. But also you can be, sorry, Lucas, estoy en una reunión. You can also oh, sorry, I've lost my. You can use ROS and FIWARE to make some kind of industry, migration to the to be remote. You won't be needing all these personnel or your employees being on site at the same moment. In case specifically of OpenVideo, when you already have available IP cameras, you can use them and process them information to generate IoT data. So you can insert it in any FIWARE architecture. This can help you with crowd control just by setting the proper filtering to, for example, Kurento or OpenVideo. It will easily place this alarm or event into the Orion, for example, context brokers, so you can have more information that you had in before. Also, you can, with that, of course, you can monitor social distancing, and you can make some kind of virtual fencing with trespassing alerts also. Just from a point of view of video conferencing, what OpenVideo offers is that it is deployable in premises or in company trusted cloud. So it won't be using servers that are not not trusted by the company. Also, it can be integrable with custom login methods, for example, Keyrop, another generic enabler of FIWARE. And of course, in case you are in a hurry, it's ready to go. So you don't need to make your own application, but it has a standard application provided. It is open source and free, like a beer and a speech. So that's what, for me, is best of OpenVideo, of what we are doing with OpenVideo. So just a bit about the company that you will have in a presentation. So with this, I finish.
Guima, thank you very, very much for your presentation here. I think you're an extreme good example of how it means to work ad hoc and with video conferencing. I think you have a little baby, right? And I think you're managing all at the same time gratefully.
Yeah, well, so, I had 3, so it was really difficult them not to disturb us. Sorry for that.
No, there's no problem. I think we all know that this is highly appreciated and a new normal as well, by the way. And I think fits very much to our title that we also can react to ad hoc, react to maybe, I wouldn't call it extreme situations, but definitely sometimes challenging situations. But what is really nice, what you explained was about remote communication, how this actually could also fit to everything that we've heard just before, because at the end of the day, we need to communicate with each other. And many of the people today participating to this event here or speakers, we usually meet at events. We also meet outside of events, but very often we meet at events and spend a lot of time together, which is not possible these days. And so remote communication is an extremely important thing. And in bringing whatever we want to achieve with open source solutions based on FIWARE to something that can be then really shared between the users. And I think you showed that very nicely. Also why then companies are switching from free to freemium software and platforms. Okay. And this gave a different view on that. With that, we have, I think we had a great time to listen to our 4 speakers and personalities today, all with very different but very exciting backgrounds and solutions. We have a few minutes left that we would leave to Q&As. So I will check now with our great support of Charlotte from FIWARE Foundation if we have any questions in the in the chat that we would like to come up with, or if I just have the chance to ask myself one.
I would go and ask yourself. At the moment, I don't see any further questions.
Okay, so then thank you, Charlotte. Let's use these last minutes. I would love to ask one question to all of you. So you are all active and creative and even effective in very difficult times. Everything that you're providing is currently contributing to easing a very difficult situation, very often handling or at least influencing not only difficult lives, but also the life as such, so to survive. I would love to ask you, what is the biggest takeaway? What is the biggest impact that you could generate because you work with open source and because you work with FIWARE as a technology? And maybe I would take this question on as a first, to the first answer from Andrea, if you're okay.
Yeah, sure. And thank for the question. And the idea that I can bring to you is that thanks to FIWARE and thanks to the open source approach, many actors like medium, small cities or emerging countries that have not so much resources can stay at the same level of the biggest and the more provided by money entities. And this is something that we face every time, because even the biggest city have the same concern, but the medium, small and the rising countries have a very high impact on the balance with software, and they need to have on the edge solutions, and most of the time they cannot afford. So we can provide valuable solution at the same level or quite at the same level of the biggest cities, thanks to the FIWARE and the open source approach. And this is something that it's a value that we have to bring with us, because it's not only an economical value, but it's a human value.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. This is a very good statement. I love your last sentence, and if you're okay, we will quote you on this. Okay, that's a very great statement. Thank you, Gianfranco. Do you want to give us your biggest impact and how you carry this on for the next near future? Let me just quickly check if Gianfranco is still with us. Sometimes we never know.
I'm here. I was talking
Super.
with I was talking with the mic off. So the question is quite clear, and the answer is not. Why? Because we run two difficult projects in emergency era, very critical, and engaging a number of different stakeholders, and being in the middle of a huge situation, a very chaotic situation with many people die, many people positive, the hospital close to the crash. So, and we had a problem, which was a problem not possible to travel, not possible to have a physical meeting, not possible to have a one-stop shop where you can converge all the things. So why we succeed? Basically, of course, with the digital enabler and FIWARE and blah, blah, blah. But the most important success point was to work with the open data model, which is one of the pillars of FIWARE, and with Open API. And why this was important? Because we are not intrusive into existing information systems, which are existing in hospitals, in the government, and somewhere. But we just convince them to share only few data according to data model. And this was super important. And I think we can reuse, we as a community, of course, we can reuse this experience saying we are not going to start from scratch every single time we are going to launch a new project. But what we can do, since we have a number of information available, we can find a way to define a kind of lingua franca in order to make together all the pieces of the story.
They are
this
in
is
the
most
Q&A,
important.
and I'm trying to.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Sorry.
Okay, I guess we just got some words here on default, but I let's just look at the time. I think we started 3 minutes late, so I think that gives us another minute. So Lanfranco, I think you can just close your statement, and then we'll have Guimard for the last words. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Can you hear me?
All good?
Okay, great. No, I was saying that the most important part of the story, we can reuse also in some other experience in the future, is that if we base our experience on open API and in open data model, we can easily engage a number of stakeholders within the community in order to share only few data. And everyone can win and everyone can take part to the final success. And this is a great story to disseminate, because in this way we have been able to realize in a very short period of time the story. Of course, it's based on FIWARE, but the most important part is we are not here to replace anything. We are here to connect piece of the story, and also to connect the piece of the story. The other part is how to protect people. We are not going to control people with data. We are here to protect people with data. These are the two main points, and thanks to FIWARE, we have been able to put this in practice.
Thanks, Lanfranco, for underlining the community efforts and also the opportunities out of that for the community. So also great statement here. And Roberto, I know you're still with us, but I would just look at the time and say I noticed your part was very connected to Lanfranco's presentation. I hope you will forgive me to move to Guimard for the last minute of statements and then hand back over to Funding Box. Thanks, Guimard.
No problem at all. Thanks.
Thank you, Roberto.
Hi, I will be quick because from my point of view, or Nagatek's point of view, yes, being an open source community is what makes us something special. Because what Andrea says, that is, we are not just making business; we are doing business with people. We are helping people. So, of course, we are reaching not only a possible client, but we are reaching the community. We are giving the community sometimes because we have already consumed or we have already used this community in another way. It's a win-win relation. So what I
thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Guimard, also for this closing statement. I also myself has learned really a lot today. So thanks to our great speakers. Thanks again to Andrea Crowe, Guimard Dita, Lanfranco Morasso, and Roberto DiBernardo. I think this is what became really clear, that everything that was presented today is not looking into the past, what we've done with COVID. It's looking into the future, how lives are changing and how we can handle ad hoc and difficult situations. Unfortunately, we also know that the situation with COVID-19 is still not completely under control all over the world. Also, we're seeing moments of good signs. And Europe is relaxing. However, I think it can be really underlined that everything that has been developed and in use now is a help also for the next months and maybe upcoming years, and we will learn a lot still out of that. So thanks again to all of our guest speakers and to Funding Box to have given us the opportunity to present this today. And with that, I'm handing over back to Funding Box.
Hi, thank you very much. It was a very informative session with many insights. We really appreciate this participation from the speakers, and we want to thank you. We have recorded this and we will publish it, so we will share with you the link so you can access to it in the later days. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.